soon we'll have serious slum challenges, because however good a plot may look, the location, the what, and everyone has to put up a septic tank in every home. I think it's far too expensive. I think ways of approaches of subdividing land for plots and for habitation need to include the issue of sanitation, so that when somebody subdivides plot, he is told that you need to have a plan for sanitation, so that when you join there and you buy a plot, you know you're supposed to pay so much money so that you can help sanitation. I just thought it's something to look at, and then who has the statistics for how well sanitized we are as a country? Do you have those statistics? Do you know, if we went to central Kenya, how many places, how many households are properly sanitized? We need to look at all these things, because at the end of the day, our population will still end up in towns. So investment in water service companies, in sanitation companies around towns becomes very important. Asante.
Thank you. I'm Nganga from Kiambu, Kikuyu Water in specific. So just a clarification from the case study that you gave. The flush toilets in the rural areas, they are poor to septic, or where does the waste eventually go?
Yeah, it's just an extra question, more of a clarification, or to understand more. When you mentioned about this, the flush toilet or the project being sustainable, and you mentioned there's a company, or some people who help in removing or exhausting. At what point can we say it's sustainable? Does the community, or is the community able to do that on their own, or they need an extra company outside which is subsidized or financed by an extra partner? Or are they fully sustainable, that they're able to pay for the services? Yeah, that's my question.
I think, yeah, those are very good questions for you. I think also, please tell us where the location of the project as you're answering the others.
Okay, thank you so much. The last one is the easiest. This is in a place called Seme. There is our Wanga Road. For those who know Wanga Road, there are those two primary schools, Nyatigo Primary and then Magwako Primary. That is where this project is. Yeah, and it's still going on, and we are still expanding. Yeah. No, it's rural. It's rural. Yes, yes. Yeah, Nyanyes are having flush toilets. Yeah, no, okay, those are small. Yeah, they are different. Yeah, it's ancestral farms, so there are those that are big, there are those that are small, so differently. They all stay there. Yeah, and I want to agree with Maina Chair. I want really to agree with you that there need to be a plan, especially when it comes to urban areas. I'm so happy that WSPs now are thinking about this, because now in your service areas, even now on-site sanitation is in your hands. So now that on-site sanitation is in your hands, then you really need to think about this. And I'm also happy for the sector fund. Sector fund has come up with an innovation, let me call it an innovation, the decentralized system that can be used for the small towns, where now people can come and take whatever waste that is there and put it in a centralized place where it can be treated. And these are technologies that can really be used, and especially for the urban areas, especially where the WSPs are taking care. So I really want to agree with you that even as we are doing this, and this should go further even to our planners, as our planners, and the other I haven't looked at it, but I understand there is a new building code that has been done. I really would want to see this new building code, what now has been included in this new building code. But things like this that you're saying, come, we buy plots, let those investors also think about sanitation, I think is very important. And we were extending that and putting it also as is planning for 100 dams. Let them think about sanitation. Because as they come and they do the 100 dams, where are these people? I mean, dams, all the surface runoff is going to be running into this dam. Then what happens if people don't have latrines up there? And so this should also go to government, and let's put sanitation as a priority in all the projects that we are doing. So we are doing, I wouldn't call it a septic tank. I'll call it more of a cesspool for those ones who have done Safi latrine. These are the models that we are promoting in this particular community. And so you are able to come, once it's full, you are able to exhaust it. And in terms of exhaustion, we are not bringing people from outside. We have trained artisans within the community. So it is the artisans who are helping the community to build them. And these artisans are the ones who are going to help in terms of emitting. So it's everything within the community. Yeah, and looking at maybe latrine mathematics and all that, this is not something that is going to fill within 1 year. I mean, having a family, sometimes you have a grandmother with some 2, 3 children there. And so it's something that is lasting. So it's a 3-year program, and so far, nothing has, it's not yet full. And as we know, the technologies that are there, and also there are new technologies that are coming up, and we would also want to introduce them into the community. We have the soldier flies right now, and I think Mary University is doing a good job in training people in terms of the soldier flies. And we also want to see how do we introduce this in the community, such that whatever fecal matter that is going to come out again is going to be eaten up. And then we have this toilet forever. So we don't have a pit where you go, there is a pit in all the village or in all the place. No, we have this, something that is going to last for many, many years. It's a water project, water and sanitation project. So there is water, we are doing the water, and our thoughts on water is that every woman should have water in the kitchen, not outside, not in a kiosk, in the kitchen. And so people in Seme right now, they have water in the kitchen. Now we can say the woman is saving time. But if she's still going to queue in a kiosk and we are still saying she's saving time, I don't think that is it. So we have water. These nyanyes, I think I can show you the pictures once you see me. The nyanyes and the vulnerable have now water in their kitchen, not outside, not in a tap stand, and a toilet to flush. That is what we are promoting. Safely managed. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Patrick. I think if you have additional questions, we can pack that to the end of the panel discussion. We go to Charlotte. We are eagerly waiting to hear one interesting, impactful initiative that you have done or Finnish Mondial has to close the gap on on-site sanitation. And we'll still do the same round of a few questions from the audience in case there's need for some clarity.
Thank you. I felt sad you limited me to one technology. But
because of time, we just not one technology, one initiative. It can be a technology, so a financing instrument, but just something you think you'd want to share with this symposium, and something that can be taken up at a scale.
Yeah. So I will say on the on-site sanitation, because that is where you had said. We also have an initiative like what Patrick is saying. But for us, we are very critical on circular economy. So for the reuse of waste, that is a very key component for our program. So we have, for the water-based toilets, we have an option called leach pits. So leach pits are some form of septic tank connected to water-based toilets, but at the end of the day, you can empty them and use the waste and reuse it in your farmland. So that is our idea. It's 2 leaches. So with a radius of 1 meter each, and it goes as deep as a maximum of 10 feet, and it has leaches so that the waste is able to leach out the water component, and the solid that remains can be able to dry up and can be reused in the farmlands. Because with the studies that are ongoing, there's a lot of interest in reusing our human waste in the increase of the soil fertility. So that is how we are aligning our work to make sure that the leaches that are constructed, you can use one, once it's drying, you use another. It's very cost effective as compared to a septic tank. So it can be just built in a small area given the radius that is needed. And then after that, you can empty it on your own, or you can call the agriculture farms, because you are partnering with the agricultural institutes in various counties where they can come and take up the waste, mix it with organic waste and make co-compost. So for us, the priority is on the circular economy, but we are merging it with the sanitation options that are there. Yeah, I would say that is the technology that I would say in terms of on-site. Yes, sanitation.
Any questions from the audience? Wow. Where do we start?
Thank you. That's an interesting one. So, is it only able to serve households, or is it something that schools can adopt and, yeah, implement?
Thank you. Mine is not really a question, but maybe to add on to your technology, there's something we are doing with Sunnywise. I don't know whether you visited our plant where we are feeding human waste to black soldier fly and then use frass for, as manure. So I don't know whether you could also be interested in this technology, because it's already ongoing and schools are actually really interested. Most of the schools are interested in it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for that example. My question is coming from an angle of affordability. So these technologies are there, but now the thing that we find on the ground is affordability by the customers is quite a challenge. So in terms of affordability, are you also coming in that room? Okay, I know you'd mentioned, but for that particular technology, how are you coming in so that then the demand that you create can also then turn into deliverables, yeah, or outputs?
I wanted to know, you've said that you treat, after the waste solidifies, it's used in the gardens as fertilizer. I wanted to know, how do you take care of the smell, the E. coli? How do you take care of that? And is it expensive to do that?
Any other question?
I just thought about it. You've talked also, your project is on the waste itself. Do you have projects you're doing where you're dealing now with the wastewater? Because we talk so much about waste, and I know people are doing a lot of things with blowflies and soldier flies and all that. What about the wastewater? Like now, when it's raining, we have a lot of problems, obviously, we all know that. So are you dealing with those circular projects where we can recycle that wastewater? Would you be interested in something like that?
I think we can take that round of questions for Charlotte. Any other burning question can come at the end.
Yeah, thank you. I'll start with the first one, households. We are very keen on households currently, I would say, because of the usage and how we have adopted the technology to be used. So we are keen on households because also the leach pits can be constructed in homes. So for schools, we are recommending septic tanks. And I would say because of the number of people that use and the fact that it is water-based. So for schools, we will not recommend the leach pits. We are recommending the households. Because if you do want to harvest the waste and have the quality that it deserves, you also have to limit the number of people who use and how they use, like how their waste is generated and how it's drying up. So we are very keen on households with the leach pits, and for schools, we do recommend septic tanks. Yes, I've heard of Sunnywise. We are in talks with them, especially in Kisumu, just to see what we can do. But it's the conversation is around the black soldier fly, because we are also doing black soldier flies in Busia in our treatment plant. So just to see, for them, as they are doing it on a household level in small scale, and for us, we are doing it on a county-wide basis. just to see the difference with which they're engaging the black soldier flies on a household and us on a county base, and where we can merge our efforts. So we are in talks with them. Thank you. And then in terms of affordability for the customers, yes, we factored that in because the leach pits are 2, and we anticipate in a household of an average of 7 people, they can use 1 leach pit for at least 3 to 5 years before it fills up and they need to use the other leach pit. So to factor the affordability aspect, we ask that they construct 1 leach pit first, and as it's being used, they can save up to construct the other leach pit. So that is one aspect in which if you are doing a septic tank, you'll have to get all the money to do it at once. But for the leach pit, you are doing 1 leach first with a radius of 1 meter. And then once it's done, you are using it between 3 to 5 years, enough to amass some money to do the second leach pit. Also, we are encouraging them to use material that is readily available in their area. So for us, we do not say, make sure that it is made of stone, make sure it is made of brick. We have the artisan identify. This area, for example, is very rocky. So you do not have to line your leach pit all the way down, because if there's a rocky part, you line until the area that is not lined. So we really factor the topography of the area and just understand how you can cut cost to meet the demand that you're doing. So that's how we look at it in terms of affordability. And then for the smell and the E. coli, there are studies that we have seen and we are also doing that the longer you keep waste to dry, the more you are reducing the pathogens that are there. So with the homes, we really encourage them to dry their waste for longer, but also we have a partnership with ISIPE, like in Busia, where we are taking our waste to be tested. Every waste that is coming, we are testing it just to see what are the pathogen levels, what are the E. coli levels, is there still anything that is not dying? And also we are really making it nature-based as possible, so that we are not having people handling the raw waste. So the longer it is stayed covered, not being interfered with, the better it will dry up to kill the pathogens that are there. And then the recycling of the wastewater, at the homes we are not recycling, but at our plant in Busia, we are trying to see how we can reuse the waste that is coming from the septic tanks. For now, we are reusing it just to make the co-compost. So as you are mixing the organic waste, mixing the fecal waste together with the organic, we are still using the same water to do the co-composting. But we are not doing any specific harvesting of the water. Maybe, I'm not sure if you're thinking about separation of the liquid and the solid, but we are not doing any of that at this point. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Charlotte. That was very interesting.
Thank you, Charlotte. I was just thinking in terms of managing the waste that you collect, looking at most of our counties, the sewerage systems are obsolete. I don't know whether you are thinking of, in the long term, partnering, say, with the county governments to expand their sewer, and also educating other decision makers like boards of schools management or other institutions, because managing that waste from institutions, most of the times you go to the schools, you find the pits full and the kids still use them. Again, pits that are decommissioned, as in they have been brought down, the management of the environment around that place is a big challenge. I don't know if under your program, there's something you're doing in regards to making the environment that child-friendly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think I forgot something else that we're very keen on is partnerships for us as Finish. So I will say, like in Busia, where we have our treatment plant, it was a partnership between the county government, the Busia Water, and Finish. So the county government was able to give us the land where we have constructed a decentralized treatment for the treatment of the waste to make co-compost. And Busia Water, we are partnering with their MTRs that they have in their panel so that they're able to bring the waste to the plant. So we are partnering to just make sure that the waste that they have, which is from the pit latrines, which is from the septics, which is from the hospitals, which is from the schools, can come to a treatment plant. But also the organic waste that they have in their markets also is brought to the plant to be able to mix. So there's a lot of partnering with the county just to manage all the waste. I will not only say fecal, I will say also the solid waste. And for schools, what we are doing, we have partnerships with Waterworks, and I think we had an option in Kiwasko where you move into a school, understand their needs, and then you are able to see what you can do for them. So, for example, in Nakuru, we were able to go to a school and make for them sanitation blocks and connect it to biogas. So the schools are actually harvesting the biogas, but also they are using the waste that is coming from their toilets. So for the school, we are thinking of alternatives that are able to meet the number of students. And I think that is the dynamic for schools. For schools, it cannot be a one size fits all. You need to understand the demands for the school, how many children are there, how many students use specific toilets, meeting the ratio that has been given by the government, and what can be the alternative. So for Kisumu, for example, there's a school, they needed new sanitation, but they had blocks, but it only needed to be connected to the sewer. I'm not sure, Caro. Or they had to just renovate their sewer. So you don't need to come up a new block, but you can actually renovate for use. But then in Nakuru, we are having all these toilets that are decommissioned because they are pit latrines. It means they are filling up very fast, and you cannot have pit latrines as options anymore. So our option for them was, why don't you come up with water toilets, but then have option of them having biogas, because they're generating enough waste that can be used to even give them an energy source. So that look at it for the school's perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the questions. That was very informative.
It's just on what she was asking about the treatment. Just for natural treatment, for those who are conversant with ecological sanitation. Ecological sanitation, these were dry toilets. So you separate the urine from the solids. The urine, once it's full in your bucket, you just go mix it 1 to 8. That is already manure. That's already ammonia for your maize. 1 to 8. You just dilute it 1 to 8. Studies that have been done towards that. And then for the solids, you give them 6 months. That is natural treatment. After 6 months, you come back, it is soil completely. Thank you. 6 months.
As you're explaining, how do you deal with now medicine? Because we are taking a lot of medicines these days, and I know there's a study that's being conducted about the medicine in our fecal matter, in our urine. Is there a way you deal?
The treatment. Okay, that one I'll go back to Charlotte and borrow from the study that they are doing. But for those ones who are doing ecological sanitation, 6 months, everything was good. And you were able to use it. And the studies were done towards that, and there are results on that. You are able to reuse it as manure in your farm.
Yeah, I'm doing a study just to determine the efficiency of our wastewater treatment plant in removal of antibiotic resistant genes. So this information is not available in Kenya, and we realized that we are using feces, used for manure, but we don't know what it contains. Like even from just the basic parameters that I've tested, already it's showing that the manure is really loaded. So what else is in it? So that is why I'm doing this study, so that we are able to know what we are dealing with. Because most of these pollutants are not able, the system is not able to break the pollutants down. Yeah. So that's a critical issue that we really need to know before we even advocate for reuse of the sludge. Yeah.
Oh, may I ask a question before you hand it over to her? So we've spoken about the water-based toilet, and I am thinking about the areas where water is a big problem. So could you share an innovation that's really working for these areas, because we know they make up a big part of our country and sanitation is a persistent problem? Thank you.
Yeah, I will also follow the trend. Now my question is regarding these on-site treatment sanitation, or what you call the decentralized treatment. Is there anything at policy level which can promote this? And basically at government level, what needs to be done in terms of policy?
Kindly repeat the question, please.
Okay, so let's have Violet
Yes, basically I'm asking, is there any policy in matters on-site sanitation or decentralized treatment? And what can be done at government level, basically to promote this?
So there were two questions. I don't know who would like to go with the policy one and who would like to go with the sanitation solutions for dry areas, arid, semi-arid zones. Again, it's a discussion, eh? The panelists might not have all the answers.
I think for the alternative for the areas where you do not have water, then you go for the EcoSan, because it needs minimal water, so you'll be able to do that. Because you'll only need to splash a bit when you urinate, but the other ones you can use ash. So that one would be a better solution for you in the arid and semi-arid areas. For the aspect of decentralized, at Water Sector Trust Fund, we are financing some of the WSPs to implement the DTFs across Kenya. And I think so far we've done more than, if my memory serves me well, more than 25, or thereabouts to 50 right now. So we have areas that have already even implemented, and some places of excellence, or rather centers of excellence. You could go to Machakos, where that has been working for a long time. And I think Eden was there when we started that project, when she was with us. So yes, we have areas that we have financing for that. But it's, of course, when we have financing, we send out call of proposals. So depending on the criteria that is set out, a WSP can be able to apply. And then if they qualify, then they could be financed. But it is on a case, because we are donor funded. So sometimes we do not have all the funds all the time. But when we send out call of proposals, so the respective WSP should be able to apply and pass the criteria, then they will be eligible for funding.
Yeah, then maybe on the policy, I think there are several policies and there are several regulations also in terms of sanitation. I think I've just heard today NEMA has one now on on-site sanitation. That one I haven't seen, but I've just been informed today, I've just known today that there is that one. But then there's CASH, which is also there. And then again, we have the National Sanitation Management, which is now at the Parliament. It is a document that people have worked on. And this is also giving guidelines in terms of also on-site sanitation. Yeah, so there are several there. And if you take again the Act itself for the public health, again, it has those guidelines in terms of on-site sanitation.
Just to add on, for the water scarce areas, we know most of the people are very used to the common pit latrines as an option for the areas where there is no water, but also identifying that some of the pit latrines either have too much smell, too many flies, and an option. So for us as Finnish, we have modified the pit latrine to really improve them, to capture the aspect of dealing with the flies and the smell. So maybe making sure that it has a vent pipe, and the vent pipe to be put outside, making sure that even the squirt hole is way smaller than it should. The doors, for example, do not have too much spacing so that the flies cannot come in based on the lighting. So we are also modifying just understanding that pit latrines are the common option, but how can they be safely managed? So making sure they also have a place where you can empty from the back. So for us, that is the water scarce. And then I would say about policy on-site, I would say there's been a lot of traction. Even having like Violet from Water Sector Trust Fund, Violet is from Trust Fund, for those who don't know. Yeah, having them construct the decentralized treatment facilities opened an avenue for water utilities to also be rated on the impact report, if I'm not wrong, that they can also say that they're dealing with the sanitation aspect. So you're also doing water, but with the decentralized, you may not is in your area. So the decentralized treatment facilities are doing that, and the policy is recognizing them as options for on-site sanitation. Yeah.
Wow, well, a very engaging discussion. I think I'm liking how this is going. Okay, I'll allow this one last question, and then we move on to Sylvia.
Thank you very much. It's only that I appreciate what you're telling us, but also she came up with something very interesting. She said that you said that you have a facility where you give water service providers funds for building decentralized units. What about those small urban areas that have got no water service provider? And there are many, there are very many.
Okay. So maybe a brief of, and we have different divisions that handle so in terms of the DTFs, those basically in urban areas. So the condition would be you would have to register, you have to be recognized by WASREP, and you have to be fulfilling that aspect of registration, and then we could fund you. But in terms of private entities, no, not under our urban programs. If you want to access funds for DTF, it is only done under our urban program, and we only fund WPs. So for, let's say, the rural spaces, we fund the toilets, the public sanitation facilities. So that is the aspect there where we have two designs of the public sanitation facilities, and they go to the rural space. Then, of course, the connection would be, if it would be a septic, then would dig into the DTF. But then you would have that. We are not, or rather, we don't have a facility where we are saying we are going to fund like a private entity or let's say a CBO. We are currently working with legal entities, and at the most we do is maybe NGOs, but in the rural space. In urban and peri-urban, it has to be a WSP, recognized by WASREP, and of course, reporting on the deliverables that is expected of them. In the rural space, we are working with NGOs currently, and WSPs, which can either be urban or rural, depending on the county-based. When we come in terms of the water, resource, and climate change, we are working with conservancies, we are working with water resource users associations, and community forest association. So depending on the interest you have, or rather where you would want financing, then you would approach the different programs under Water Fund, and then if you meet the criteria, which of course we have a call of proposals, we have a desk and field appraisal. If you meet the criteria, then you can access financing.
Thank you very much. I'll close it there. And we go to Sylvia. We are eagerly waiting to hear about some interesting stuff you're doing.
After all this, so much pressure.
No pressure.
Yeah. So the work that we do bridges the gap of accessibility. So accessibility for people with limited mobility. So this includes people with disabilities, elderly people. It could be women and girls who don't want to use pit latrines outside at night because of safety. And so normally, hi, it's okay now, no? I should be louder, okay. Okay, so our container-based toilets, we usually provide them to households that already have pit latrines to bridge the gap of accessibility for people who are old, people who have a disability, people who are sick, women and girls who don't want to go to the toilet outside at night because of security. So usually they will toilet either a pit or they have a toilet that's connected to a septic tank. And so our recent version of our AutoLove toilet, it's a modular toilet. So by modular, I mean you can add or remove different components to make it have different user case scenarios. So the same structure can be used as a urine diverting toilet. It can be used as a power flush toilet, although as the power flush, it still uses very minimal water because usually it's just to clean the bowl. And the structure can also be used on pit latrines to make it accessible and usable. And if it can be used by someone with limited mobility, it can be used by anyone else in their household. So it has those different case scenarios. So for the urine diverting toilet, like we've had, you can compost the waste and then use it as fertilizer later. But then for the power flush, so the flushing mechanism is it uses a bidet. So the same bidet that is used to clean the bowl is the same bidet that can be used by people who are washers and not wipers. So it caters for both washers and wipers. And then in terms of waste management, we add a biodigester both in the container-based toilet to break down the waste, and it can also be added in the septics and in the pit latrines. And so the biodigester basically breaks down fats, oils, greases, cellulose, which is tissue, into a product that is predominantly water, and it does not produce methane gas as well. So it's that simple.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Something that's not clear? I'll start from this side and come round.
Thank you very much. I just have a question for the panel. Anyone can respond. So my name is Eddie. I work at Akiba Mashinani Trust. Akiba Trust is a trust fund. And I'm in the wash and MT works in informal settlements within urban areas and also in the peri-urban areas. So one of the programs that we've done as an organization is the implementation of settlements. And this was after the declaration of Mukuru settlements as a special planning area. So the challenge I've seen throughout in the course of the 4 years in monitoring and evaluation of so I don't know if for those in informal settlements, I don't know if for the existing sewer lines, if we've done optimization survey to actually identify how many people can access, how many households or population have access to the existing sewer, and what is the gap. So for the case of the Mukuru settlements, what AMT has done, we've done optimization survey for all the existing sewers, and we know the gap in terms of connection. So as we are talking about gaps in the sanitation sector, one of the things that I felt was very relevant is for those who are working in informal settlements, do we know the gaps in terms of the sewer infrastructure? Those who can connect to the existing sewer and those who are not able to connect because they can't access sewer. Those statistics, I believe, are very important going forward as we try to dignify the lives of those living in informal settlements. Thank you.
Okay. Let me take all the questions.
Thank you. My name is Caroline. I'm a researcher from the Center for Training and Integrated Research in Arid and Semi-Arid Lands Development, CETRAD. And we are in the business of research. So 2013, we came up with the Socioeconomic Atlas of Kenya. The key area was sanitation. It was very low. And then there were conflicting percentages from WHO, from UNICEF, about the sanitation status in Kenya. And we used the National Bureau of Statistics data. And I mean, you can even now, you can go to your village It's an interactive atlas. It's online. You can check the status of sanitation. So this conference is, for some of us, very good because it shows that now we are talking about it, we are doing something about it. My question is, we came up short-term courses, and the issue is we don't have a critical mass of people interested in the short-term course. And that is not good because we know the status. That's one. Secondly, the panelists who are in the business of implementing, action is being done. What are the research and capacity gaps which maybe you can flag out, and depending on the institutions where we are working, universities, research institutions, we can do one or two things to plug the gaps. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentations. Mine is just to build up on what she has asked. There is a lot of data gaps, and data informs all the decisions that we're making, and sanitation does not fall out of this. So are the institutions doing anything when it comes to getting data so that we find that we are not, because as it is, we are here because probably wash was prioritized as opposed to sanitation, or water was prioritized as opposed to sanitation. So are we getting any data, and is there a repository that has all this data that then informs some of the initiatives or the projects that we have done or we are doing or we intend to roll out? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm still back to my old question. Although I'm actually referring to a county like Nyandarua, that most of the urban areas have got no water service providers. And actually it's a nightmare going to a toilet on the highway if you're in Nyandarua. A real nightmare because it has a high water table, very high water table. And you have those towns, okay, they're urban centers with the plots you're saying about 200. Somebody was asking about 200 plots subdivided. So you have those kind of municipal centers, and they are really, really, really bad. So even as we talk here, because I think that's where majority, the biggest problem is, not when I'm on half an acre or 1 acre in the rural areas. I think the real problem is in those urban centers, with about 100 units, 50 units, and you take some meat and you try to go to the toilet. And I have not found any of those urban centers with a good toilet. Even the ones in good areas like Muranga. Muranga has got hills and red soil, but still, there you need a toilet after eating some food. Then you will never eat food again in those places. So what are we doing about these kind of small areas? Because if we could come with a solution to these small areas that is replicable, then we'd go a long way in meeting the sanitation gap. And if we could do like I'm saying about those ones in Nyandarua, that's where I reside. And if we could find a replicable solution for a town like Engineer, the famous town called Engineer, it's typical with high-rise buildings, with what, and there's stormwater all overflowing, mixed with sewage. You go to Kariamu, you go to the next one, they're all the same. And we are not looking at those. Maybe from the government perspective or from the sanitation experts like us, how can we tackle a typical area and then replicate?
Those are very good questions.
Thank you. I am keen on knowing how easy it is to set up an on-site sanitation service provision business. Is this, most young people, when they get advice on ventures they can get into after school, they get very limited or ordinary suggestions. So in some parts of this country, they will naturally go to border business. If you talked about sanitation business, most people imagine that it is very expensive. Is this something that we can teach the young people, that sanitation management starts with you, and that it is this easy, or is this complex, or you can always start somewhere?
Okay. Any more questions? All right.
I just was curious to know from your perspective, when it comes to the sanitation market, when you view now the sanitation market as a market with demand, supply, affordability, enabling environment, policy, and all that, what would you say is our biggest limitations in making that market work? Yeah.
All right. Panelists, you can.
I think we have talked more of the on-site. So my question was for the biodigesters, because I haven't heard you mention about them. And I think they would be one of the things that would work well. So do you have something on the biodigester? So instead of people having to use the systems, they use the biodigester.
I think we can with you, Sylvia. You'd mentioned that your system is using a biodigester that does not produce methane. Yeah. So perhaps you could start with that question, and okay, I can guide you through the other questions that have been asked. Okay. Okay. All right.
So for the biodigester, we don't use the machine biodigesters. We use the bacteria. So it comes either in powder form, and then the powder is usually mixed with water. Then you pour it in the septics or in the pits or in the compost toilets. Or there's some that comes as liquid form. So you don't need to do any installations. It just comes in a container, you pour it, and then it breaks down the waste. And then usually maintenance is you need to add it every 3 months just to ensure that the waste keeps getting broken down. That's what we use. Yeah. So on the question on data, I'll speak to it from a private level because we're in private sector. So what we do at SINA is we have a platform that's called Accessify. Accessify is AI-driven, and we use machine learning. So we've already fed data to it on what is safe sanitation, what does accessibility look like in a toilet. And so we're able to collect data from households. So households are able to fill a very simple questionnaire and also upload some photos of their toilets. So based on what we've fed it in terms of data, it can measure some of the things that are needed. It can notice the state of the toilet, and then it creates a report at the end of it. So we are able to collect this from different households and kind of map out what sanitation infrastructure looks like, especially for us because we focus a lot on accessibility. And then based on that, we are able to plan and implement our solutions. So that's for us at SINA. And then in terms of capacity building, of people in the sanitation sector. So sanitation is not very enticing, especially for young people. We are competing with software engineering. You know, people are making money. So do I want to make $100,000 or do I want to build toilets? So it's very difficult to find people who are like working in the sector. But then what we are doing at community level is we are working with schools. So children in high school. So we formed like clubs, wash clubs, where we teach them human-centered design in terms of sanitation and how they can create their own solutions for their schools. And then the people in the same club are able now to also do the operations and maintenance and ensure that the projects are running. And we thought that's a better. If someone goes to campus and they're still interested in sanitation, it's something they can do in the long run. But then for the solutions we're implementing outside, we basically look for partners who already have the skills in terms of what we want built.
There also was the question about biggest, what in your opinion, big limit taking the market demand and the supply for on-site sanitation services and products.
What is the biggest limitation? I would say what was earlier poverty. right? People want toilets, but they afford it. It's a priority. So they think about it, they're not able to afford it.
Another, I think, line, and about why there is no critical mass of people that are interested in sanitation planning, in sanitation services. I think people are not coming and learning about what you're doing, taking a course in sanitation.
I took not so sure for everyone. They are not going for this. Mm, Have you let people know their short course sanitation? Because I've just had you don't know you short course sanitation. So we create awareness to understand what courses on, and you also talk about what are and train people on for me about how they implement sanitation. So people coming and understanding if you want to implement a sanitation, this is how you should look at it. These are the things you have to turn to. So it's more project sanitation. That for me is something to do. So something about apps, it would be fair not to say what government is doing with data. So it's the real time system is looking to capture data sanitation specifically. So they used to be on the CSS real time that is also to capture MS, market sanitation. The entity that involved in sanitation, you are actually report it on the platform. As a partner coming on board to register, I'm a partner to one this and this. These are my indicators. This is what we do. You have to report to the platform. So the data is sized. Anyone can just say in my this who is doing for so overlap and redundant in the effort of partners. In working inside, I think this is what government is coming to say. As much as you are this, you working in collaborating in agenda to access sanitation run. Yeah.
Thank you. There's another one from MT. The informal settlements in areas where they in organizing sewer line. I think that was the question. I don't know if lists already the audience like to respond before, and the question is how optimistic the informal settlement.
Just expand beyond optimization. Perhaps formal settlement that are willing their or houses connected to the area. For those in informal areas, statistics or data that show some of the sewer has been up percentage. Then in some area, how much do we need is required for 100% connection?
So yeah, can help that question.
A question or comment. Investing solutions are being implemented, but localized. And I'm wondering what your experience is in how this be government is made available to the population under the market, if I put it. I think my in relation to the implements, just as you give them their implements, they're not planning. In other words, technically, they are not organized to be people, although the majority of people are found. And if perhaps can put to have informal moments, layered learning aid. In that case, it becomes to an extent service. If you go to the informal, for example, findings are around them, not in whether they are schools, health centers, and so forth. Perhaps one of the aspects of grading, you find certain structure being there, but that formality has to be dealt with because it not be formal. In if people are there, people who have, and people who are, those are the that we have. Thank you.
To help your question, the SPA guru have been involved and doesn't at the time see your network, but with the guidance of the SPA Mukuru in that informal because one that I coach with data, the areas could only cover about 6% of the information. On the Ngong geography. Those areas, the plan, the one running for non-sanitation of being or any other seaward option adapted, integrated with such as sewers. Again, data is still a challenge, specifically for the Mukuru SPA. There's a lot of showing data on sewage, what needs to be optimized to get sanitation, manage sanitation, for formal set is in the other settlement. So it's been SPA for coming up, because the SPA format is also discussion